And welcome back to my channel. Y'all. Going to talk with you about the old Bitcoin now that we're at roughly the halfway mark through December on the 15th. Guess what happened yesterday on that was Saturday, the 14th of December, 2024. Guess what Bitcoin did? Bitcoin pretty much confirmed that it is in mean reversion to the 3012 RMLR, because for the third day in a row, it did not hit the third band down of the 3012 RMLR. And in case you're wondering what that means, well, you should get your butt over to the Alpha Trading Discord and learn about the RMLRs. Because it is one of the most, if not the most powerful tool to show you exactly when an asset is in distribution and very accurately when it is in mean reversion. Not only that, it can show you the future direction of the RMLR. And if you're wondering, what is the RMLR? You must be new around here, because the RMLR is Alpha Trading's indicator that shows you the reverse mean of log returns. Ooh, yeah. And it is incredibly powerful stuff. Because not only does it do what your standard RMLR would show you, if you could call it standard, because it's not standard. It's an advanced thing. Most people have no idea it even exists. They don't think about things like that. But let's say, you're a smart mathematician, or you're just a smart person, and you like math, as well as trading. And you figured out that there's this thing called the reverse mean of log returns. Well, bet you didn't figure out it does what we figured out it does. And what it does is it tells you when the asset's literally in mean reversion. And it tells you the direction of the future RMLR. And I can tell you, over the coming month, that 3012 RMLR is generally looking up. Yeah, there's some down days here and there, sprinkled in between the up days. But generally, it's rising. Also, the asset is just above the 1110 RMLR. So it's going to distribute away from the 1110 RMLR as it mean reverts to the 3012. How do I know it's going to distribute away from the 1110 RMLR? Well, at the moment, it is in mean reversion to the 3012. And it's just about at the 1110. So at least until they intersect or get close to intersecting, it's going to be getting further and further away from the 1110, most probably. Now, there is, of course, the probability that it could rise a little bit over the coming week to 10 days, and then just kind of slump sideways and eventually start drifting a little bit down. And at some point in mid to late January, it could begin to, or it could complete that mean reversion by dropping even lower than it is. That is a probability. But here's what I can assure you. There is more than a 99.7% probability that the asset will touch the RMLR before it touches the third band down of that same RMLR again. I'll repeat it. The asset will complete the mean reversion now to the RMLR, wherever it does it, before it touches the third band to the downside of that same RMLR again. What does that mean? That means that there is an incredibly high probability that even if the asset falls down and gets real close to that third band, that would be a good area to take profits on shorts. because the probability is it will not touch that band. It can, sure, anything can happen, but it's incredibly rare if it does happen. Usually it does not happen. When it does happen, it will just like stab through that band and pop right back up like a fast little wick. And if it doesn't happen, if it stays below it, that's even more rare. We saw that recently if you have the settings set differently. But if you have them set on the default, it's super incredibly rare that it would actually stay under that band for a long time after it's already been under the band and then begun the mean reversion progress. Like I said, anything can happen, but the probabilities are very, very small that it would do that. Why is that? Well, when an asset is in mean reversion, there's really not much you can do to stop it. It's going to mean revert because of math. Now, what could possibly interfere with that? Different time frames, different mean reversions, different distributions. Randomness, also known as geometric Brownian motion, GBM. Right now, that RMLR, somewhere in the 116 to 124,000, I forget the exact number, somewhere around 116 grand or 118 grand, whatever it is. It's generally climbing. It was 120 the past couple of days, 120, 121. It'll be generally climbing over the next 30 days. Now, at the current print, the highs are like 130, 131 about a month from now, 28 days or whatever. But it'll probably get to like 127, 128 if the prints stay roughly the same. Now, for the past number of days, the prints have been incredibly accurate. Have been incredibly well predicted by the RMLR, meaning even though the RMLR is not a price predictor, it does very often show you where the price of that RMLR is actually going to be. And for the past number of days, it has been where it was predicting, meaning the prints didn't move. The print of the line, when I say the prints, I mean the printed line that was predicted did not move once the actual printed line was set into stone, so to speak. Once the day had happened, or once the candle had happened and closed, you could see that where it was predicted to be was where it ended up being. So, but those do change, right? It's not always like that. But still, if the next month is anything like it's being predicted with the RMLR, certainly the direction of the RMLR will be very accurate. So nearly every day, if not every day, of the next 30 days it's generally going up. Like I said, there are some down days of the RMLRs, but generally speaking, it's going up. And what does that mean for you? Well, for you, that means you've got a very nice take profit target on shorts that you can front run by taking profit before it gets to those RMLR bands, because it's not going to get to them in all likelihood. The overwhelming propensity of the probabilities are it's not going to touch that third band down on that 3012 RMLR on the daily time frame of Bitcoin. Right? It's not going to touch that band until it touches the actual 3012 RMLR first. Okay, so you have a very nice long target too, and the long target, currently it's a long target. Yeah, if at some point over the next month we see the RMLR in the future will dip below where the asset is, then yeah, of course, by the time the asset gets to where it starts dipping, if it hasn't completed the mean reversion to the upside, there's every possibility it can complete it sideways by running through it, or going to the downside by chasing it to the downside and running into it there. These are all probabilities, but in any case, you know the higher probability is that it will touch that line. So as you look at every day, you can see, okay, it still has this much distance to go to the RMLR, and this much distance to go on, down to the third band down, if it were to drop, right? And that's very, how do I say that? Very powerful information. Why? Well, okay, right now, at around 102 grand, if the asset were to jump up to like 116, 118, whatever the number is today, that's like a $16,000 move or something. Like 15%, 18%, whatever that is. If the asset goes back above 120, tomorrow, the RMLR, sorry, goes back above 120 tomorrow or the next day, and generally stays above there, because now today's like the lowest day it's going to be in the next month, according to the current print of the predictions of the RMLR. So if it stays above 120 and just keeps climbing, right, from where it is now, the asset's like 102,000. And from where it was yesterday, when I was telling you guys, hey, it's in mean reversion already, because yesterday was already the third day. It was like a 20% move to get up to like 120 grand from 100 grand where it was yesterday, right? Or the night before, whatever. Yeah, it was yesterday. It was in the $100,000 range. So to go from 100 grand to 120 grand, simple math, 20% move. That's a pretty sick move, especially at that price, right? So keep in mind. So what is it likely to do? Well, it is likely to complete the mean reversion. It is likely to complete that mean reversion before touching that third band down again. Bear that in mind, right? I mean, it's just a statistical fact. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure it out. Why does this matter to you? Again, if you're trading relatively low time frames, it gives you a good gauge of where things can go on any given day between now and the time it mean reverts. If you're creating higher time frames, the same thing, but for your higher time frame. You know roughly where it's going this month, right? And over the course of the next 30 days, so until mid-January. And you can know what are the probabilities of the mean reversion happening at some point during the next 30 days. But right now, the probability is pretty good, pretty high, that it will complete. Why? Well, look at the daily, look at the weekly, look at the monthly information of the VEPs, and you'll see it's generally still heading to the upside on volatility and on entropy. Probabilities are still looking good to the upside, and the statistics are looking good to the upside. Of course, things can change. That's why, as traders, we look at low time frames. But there is every reason to understand that over the course of the next 30 days, the general tendency is that the asset is going to move towards the upside. For now, anyway. But again, that's why we look daily, right? We look at the intraday monitoring daily. We don't just assume one day behavior and just say, well, it went up yesterday, therefore it must go up again today. No. Every day has its own VEPS information. Every day has its own leading information. That's why every day is different, right? You don't trade the same, you don't trade yesterday's information today, right? That would be lagging information, and we don't do that. So anyway, that's it, folks. Have a great day. Happy trading. Talk to you later. Enjoy the mean reversion. Cheers.